Hi, it's Alison Marlowe here with another Global Winning Women live call, and I am so delighted today as I'm talking to somebody that has been a great friend and mentor of mine, Carly Hope. And do you know what? I'm not going to do a big introduction to Carly. You've already read some of the information about Carly. I just want to get her on the call to come and join us because I know that we're going to have so much to talk about today. Hi, Carly, are you there?
Hi, Alison. I'm here. Yes, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's so wonderful to have you. And we're talking to you in Lanzarote, aren't we?
Yes, I'm in Lanzarote today.
Absolutely. We're getting more and more global. Oh, Carly. So, you know, when we first connected, which was several years ago now, you know, you were just really kind of transitioning and starting out and finding your thing. And, you know, I know you've got a lovely story to share about that. I wonder if that would be a good place to start. You know, where you started off sort of as life coaching and then how you started to evolve and come into what it is that you can really share with the world, the gifts that you have.
Yeah, okay. So thanks, Alison. That's such a lovely way of inviting me to share my story because I do a lot of interviews and I just love it when I'm really provoked to go deeper than the standard story. So here's how I've lived my life out through my business. So the background was that I've been working in banking and recruitment and really had this deep desire to support other women, to give, to serve. There was definitely a spiritual awakening that happened within me where I went from really loving life in corporate, going out a lot, working very hard, burning the both ends of the candle very successfully, into becoming more aware of how I could look after my body, more aware of how I could manage my thoughts. I was doing courses in NLP, hypnotherapy, and just becoming more and more awake. And the more awake I became, the more it hurt me really to work in a very corporate world. I was becoming very sensitive to that world. So I quit my job, went off to India, came back, all guns blazing to start a coaching business, and went down to Heathrow to a big conference, heard loads of gurus speak, and the common theme at that time was everybody needed to have a niche. And so I, instead of using that information to feel empowered and go away and find one, I totally melted down. I went back to work. I had a very painful time of looking outside of me to try and find my niche. I went to, just wrote down so many pages of paper on what it could be. And my mantra was, I don't have my niche, I can't get started. And I allowed this ego thought to really keep me in a box, keep me safe, keep me still. And then around 2011, I'd had my little boy and I really just felt as though like I had to do something. Like I just trapped myself. And so I started off, despite the expert advice of the gurus to say, you had to have a niche. I just started off, you know, doing life coaching. And people, you know, women started coming to me. I was very good at attracting women in business, and they started to say, hey, if you know stuff around sales, which I did because I've been teaching sales my whole working life, I might be interested in that. So I started out teaching Selling the Soul and taking women entrepreneurs who were so gifted at what they did but didn't know how to sell it. And I helped them to feel so much more confident around making offers, asking for business, charging their worth. And I started out not really wanting to do sales because I felt as though it was very process-driven, very practical. But actually the work that we were doing was very deep on helping people to unlock their potential through overcoming fear, owning their place in the world a little bit more. And so it was so beautiful. And then that work evolved to really mirror my business model. I had my daughter Rosa, who's now 1, and I was really, and obviously I had this dream of coming to live out in Spain. And so my business was changing to becoming more about working with less clients in a more intimate way, charging them more, doing deeper work with them. And so I started teaching that model. And, we were just chatting briefly before the call. I don't even know how to sometimes describe what I do in a box, because I really want to work with business women and in a very deep way on really moving them past what's holding them back and really helping people to build sustainable businesses without sacrifice. So I think what we're exposed to a lot is people saying, build six figures, do it this way, here is the blueprint. And for a lot of very sensitive women, that way just doesn't work. We have to find a way to work that's in tune with our body, that's in tune with our energy, that's in tune with our personal flow. And when we can tap into that, then we can have abundance in its truest sense. So it's not about six figures but your marriage is suffering, or six figures but you feel a bit guilty because you don't see your kids as much as you like. It's about your truest version of what success looks like, how you can be the mother, how you can be the wife, how you can be the businesswoman. And it's about taking what's very real, because I'm not idealistic, because I'm living that out. And so, I know that there's days when your kids have tantrums and, your clients drop out and all of that reality, but really learning to manage yourself. And so you're constantly feeling the joy of life. And it's not outside of you, it's inside of you. And because I am now, really tapping into the inside part, the outside stuff is flourishing more than ever before. So thank you so much for asking it in the question in a different way, because it's helping me to really, I suppose, understand an internal process and that I'm very passionate about.
And Carly, thank you so much as well, because I think there's a huge piece in here that you have probably helped so many people just in this first few minutes of the call with the permission piece. Because we are bombarded constantly, aren't we, with social media, and, this is how to, build your business, this is how you do this is how you do that. It's all the how. The piece that we know that we don't need to worry about so much when we look inside. So, I thank you so much. I really, really do, for sharing that. And the other piece that I think, that the other permission piece that goes alongside that so nicely, is very much that it's okay to evolve. I started out as a parent coach, as you know. That was why I came into coaching initially. I had no idea I'd be doing what I'm doing today, and it's still continuing to evolve. And I think, again, there's a message here for women in business, entrepreneurial women, that, if something's not working, if it's not in alignment, if you're not really, really feeling it in your heart, then it's okay to let it go and to move on. So thank you. And I love what you were talking about, a sustainable business. And I'd love to explore that a little bit more, because I see a lot of people who are, working so incredibly hard, really, really hard to make ends meet. But yet, just with a few tweaks to their business model, things could be entirely different. And I guess, well, actually, I don't know. I mean, is this something that you had to learn yourself through experience?
Yeah, I'm still in recovery for being a workaholic. The kids on the tree and my joint therapist. And not all of that is a bad thing. My dad was definitely a workaholic. He instilled, just by model behaviour, a really strong work ethic in me. It really didn't come into fruition until, very much as a lazy student. I was lazy in my early 20s, purely because I worked hard at having fun. I don't regret any second of that. But, when it kicked in with force. And actually, I was a bank manager in my early 20s, very successful in my career, have a lot of energy to apply into my business. It's a very good energy, but it has to be managed, because it can become very unhealthy. And that unhealthiness looks like in me and a lot of other people that I work with and that I see and that I speak to, is that it takes over. And so some of the ways that people I see are working in an unhealthy way are, picking up their laptop before they've eaten their breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
Putting their laptop down last thing at night, like continuously checking Facebook, not going outside, like having the windows open. And some of these women that I work with, it's quite cruel what the industry does, because it takes people who might be yoga teachers or Reiki healers and people who are very good at being in their body, being in nature, brings them behind a laptop and says, sit there for 12 hours a day and you can have a 6-figure business. And it becomes like an obsession. And so for me, I've had to learn that there's not just a kind of way of doing business that gets great results in your business, and it does. I mean, I had exponential growth in my business this year through working less, but actually it allows you to thrive in the world, and nobody really wants money over feeling good. And I realised actually for many years I lived my life in my head. I didn't live in my body. I didn't taste my food. I overate because I never really realised, I was never conscious that I was eating. I never, really, just sat and looked my partner in his eyes. I never really did the things that are free, that are so simple, but actually are the richest things that you can do in the world, because I was so busy in my head going, what should my business be like? What should I write on this sales page? And so for me, I have a very passionate message to people who are working so hard, because actually, if you wrote down all of the things that you want to have happen, if you wrote down your ultimate life, if you wrote down what you would eat, how you would breathe, how you would be, where you would live, for some of the stuff you're going to need more money. But for most of it, you could have right now if you just gave yourself permission. Time, you can give yourself time. I, bet most of the people, and I'm making a sweeping assumption because I know our audience, and so some of this will be way out, but forgive me. But I bet that most people want to rise a little earlier, want to have more energy, want to have more time, maybe want to do yoga or, a hobby that they love. They want to take some time to eat their breakfast and go for a walk. You can have all of that now if you just give yourself permission. And the beauty is you're more likely to call it in because you become an energetic frequency match for the activity that you want. And so you manifest it with so much more ease. And the best part of it, Alison, is that even if what I'm talking about is a load of rubbish, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain, because you're already living out your dream without having to wait.
Yes.
And so for me, it's just a huge piece around people just allowing a great life without this, if you imagine your arm out and you're here at your elbow and your goal's at your wrist and you constantly just keep your goal ahead of you, there's so much of the goal that you could just bring in and have right now.
Oh, thank you, Carly. Thank you so much. And I know that there's going to be people that are really kind of nodding away and resonating with everything that you've said there. But I think there's also going to be people who totally agree with what you've said, but they're like, how? They're very much in their heads at the moment. And, would you be able to help anybody who may be listening right now with a starting place? Where, if this is kind of, because I do believe that, our audience totally, they are passionate women, they have purposes, they do want to thrive in the world, they want to make a difference in the world, but yet they are still in this place of working incredibly hard, feeling quite overwhelmed at the end of the day, and actually pretty exhausted. And, what we're hearing you say, that there may be some people that are actually thinking, well, that all sounds really beautiful, but how do I start this journey? What is the first step that I really, really need to take? And I just wonder if you've got any wisdom that you could share around that very, very first step.
Sure. Okay. So the first thing is that you need to ultimately make a commitment to wanting to make a change. That's where everything starts. So if you're listening to this or anything else that Alison shares, and you feel ready that it's your time, that there's a different way, a better way, a kinder and healthier way for you to be working and living, then the first thing is just to make a commitment, a decision, and actually everything changes in that moment. There's two ways that you can listen to an interview. You can either be interested or committed. And so you can listen to that and go, oh, that's nice, that sounds really cool. Maybe one day when I earn more money, I'll be able to do that, or whatever it is that you would say. Or you could just say, okay, I'm drawing my line in the sand. This is a 10 out of 10 commitment for me to make a difference in my life. And then you explore, so what needs to happen? What needs to happen in your world right now to move you forward? And there'll be two things. There'll be things that need to happen emotionally, spiritually, energetically, more on the feminine side. And then there'll be things that need to happen in more of a practical business sense to actually free you up as some of the time. Always start with the emotional stuff first, because you're in control of that 100% and it's instant. And so you know what needs to happen, and it's unique for every person listening to this call. For some of you, it may be that you need to speak to yourself in a kinder way. So many of us are, really allowing a sense of overwhelm, a sense of stress, a sense of I'm not worthy, I'm not doing it, I'm not on track with where I should be. And coaches are the worst. People into personal development. It's like we know all this stuff neck up. And then because we know it, we're not necessarily practicing it within our body.
Yeah.
And so become your own best friend, become your own client, start to nurture yourself and speak to yourself in the kindest way. And I have a really strong indigo trait in me, which is I'm all or nothing. It's like I'm either super kind to myself or I'm super mean to myself. I'm either eating totally healthy or I'm eating total junk. And for me, it's been about getting a good balance. Like, if it's just a 5 out of a 10, if you're just being, averagely kind to yourself, that's really good. If you're eating 70% good food, but 30% you're eating dairy milk, celebrate the 70%. So sometimes losing the all or nothing and just taking it a step at a time to improve and bring all of the things that you need to do. Be kind to yourself. If it's your food that you need to change, for example, and I'm talking about food because I've done a lot of work on that recently, it's like make a space to eat. Buy yourself a gorgeous handkerchief, a placemat, a cut glass, champagne flute, where even if you drink water from it, take time to prepare your meal with love. Go to the supermarket, smell the salad, really immerse yourself in the activity that you want to change. If you need to do more sales calls, make a gorgeous space with candles and incense and Buddhas. Don't do your sales calls from a messy bedroom in piles of ironing. Make the effort to make everything a sacred experience for yourself. You know what needs to shift. You know how it needs to shift. The only thing that has to happen is for you to give yourself permission.
I love that. And it just reminds me of when I first set up in business. We're going back over 10 years ago now. And again, it was in the days where I was parent coaching. And, I literally had to do my hair, my makeup, and ensure that I was dressed really nicely to be able to make any sales calls at all. And that was very much about me building my confidence. And, it's so interesting because you know what it's like when you start a new activity in your life. We're not particularly competent at it, and so this was like my inner way of being able to feel good in the moment whilst I was making those calls, even though inside I was like a nervous wreck. But and it's just so interesting because it's just thrown up for me how I've moved away from that completely, and you start to become more confident about the cause. You suddenly become a little bit more blasé. And interestingly, over the past year or so, I've gone back to that a little bit more. Not so much in the makeup and the hair and the clothes, but the environment. And I think this is really, really important, what you're saying here. It just kind of made me giggle inside, because it was like, oh my gosh, I used to do that automatically. It was as if inside I knew that that's what I needed to do. So we do know all the answers, don't we?
Yeah, and for some people, I mean, they can thrive around the ironing. They're not sensitive to that. That's great for them. It might be something different for them. It might be their thoughts or their food or their relationship, their environment. Whatever it is, we know how we put ourselves in the best position, how we allow ourselves to thrive. And whenever we're not allowing ourselves to thrive in the moment, then that is self-sabotage. And we self-sabotage in so many ways, and many of those ways are disguised, because they seem like they're kind to ourselves, or, I'll just work a little bit extra because then I'll make more money, or, I'll just eat this extra donut because, then I'll indulge myself, or, whatever it is in the moment that seems like it's serving, often it's long-term self-sabotage. And the more we can become conscious of that, the more we can then just make a conscious decision. So if that decision is, yes, I want to carry on working because my burning passion says that's where I'm thriving right now, then that's okay, be at peace with that. But when you tune in and go, well, actually, no, what I'm really doing here is sabotaging my health and my mindset and my marriage and my relationship with my children because I'm sat at the laptop, then actually we can say, well, maybe it would be better if I just put the freaking laptop down, the donut down, and just went for a walk.
And, I think that's so wonderful, and I think it's a practice that, is absolutely worth taking on board. So if anybody's not doing that kind of internal work at the moment, I think the thing is, just to reiterate what you said, get committed to it and just take the first step, see what happens. This is where the miracles happen. So, Carly, we've talked a lot about the emotional stuff. Well, not a lot, but we've skimmed the surface. I know we could talk about this for the whole call, but also, I'd also like to talk a little bit about the sustainability in your business, and how we can create business models that really support us, but support our clients and support our message to the world as well. And I know one of the things that you're incredibly good at is selling high-end packages. It's a model, obviously, that works incredibly well for you, and now you teach this as well. I just kind of have a question that popped into my mind. I'm not too sure exactly how to ask it, so it's just going to come out, Carly. But, selling high-end packages, is that the route for everybody?
No, absolutely, fundamentally not.
Okay.
I would encourage everybody in their business to be looking at the following things. Obviously, their goals, their dreams, like where do they want to be, how much money do they want to make, how many hours do they have to work, what do they want to do with their business, like do they want to sell it, do they want to grow it, to what level do they want to grow it, and then really be looking at what role do they want to play. Where do they come alive? Are they a teacher? Are they a healer? Are they a leader? Are they a business owner? Do they even want to work at all? Is this more of and I get that nobody on this call is likely to be in it for the money and nothing else, but, do they really want to, I mean, for me personally, I feel very called upon to be a mother and to live that out to its fullest potential. In the future, that might see me retire completely and not even work at all, and that's what I'm working towards. And again, that's not an unhealthy, let's cram it all in now and retire when we're 38 kind of way. But it's about what is right for you. Earlier on I was talking about the personal flow of your life. What really suits you. Gay Hendricks in The Big League, he talks about living in your zone of excellence, the things that you can do really well and you have a lot of talent. versus living in your zone of genius, which is when you work and you're so good at it and you would do it for free because that is your gift to the world.
Yeah.
You know, when you tune into what is your gift to the world, how do you get to live that out? How do you get to be in that role in your business? And for me, in my business, like my zone of genius is coaching. It's working one-to-one. It's holding a space. That's what I love to do. The opposite of my zone of genius is tax, paperwork, organisation. You know, and like now I've been able to get my business where like I only do what I love to do. And so in order to do that, I've had to have a plan of what do I want the future to look like? What do I want next year to look like? What do I want the next 5 years to look like? And then when you know that, you can make decisions about what business model is best for you. And maybe there's more than one. There's more than one in my business. To go back to your original question, Alison, some people think high-end isn't for them, and that's because they're scared of it.
Great, I'm so glad, because that was where I was going with this.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
So if you think high-end isn't for you because you're running a limiting belief that you're not good enough, you're not worth it, you're not on, it's kind of like an unspoken hierarchy that happens in the coaching world, which I think is a lot of, excuse my French, bullshit. And, you know, if you think that you're not higher enough, this imaginative hierarchy, all of that is ego thoughts that actually if you worked with somebody or you worked on it yourself, you could dissolve. If the model is appealing to you because of how beautiful it is in terms of actually living in your gift. You know, for me, I was taught about passive income, selling ebooks, running membership programs. All of that took me away from coaching. Yeah. And coaching is what my heart wants to do. It's my zone of genius. And so if you're interested in a model which allows you to serve more, live in your gifts, earn a great wage, and then not have 30 clients that you're holding a space for, perhaps working with only 5 to 10 people, then what a beautiful business model. But there are some people who prefer to do something else. They prefer to lead, they prefer to run a mastermind, they perhaps don't want to coach, they want to come away from it, and for those people it isn't the right business model. But for a lot of people they think it's not for them, and really they could thrive and flourish by working in this intimate way.
Shall we just look at this just a little bit deeper? Because it's funny, you mentioned Gay Hendricks a little bit earlier, and his book, The Big Leap, which I know I've mentioned previously on these calls as well. It's a great book, isn't it? But I'm just thinking about this ego piece that you've hit the nail on the head. You know, how can you, particularly Carly, as a coach, you know, when people are working with you, how can you really help somebody to really see that this potentially, you know, they may be feeling that this is a beautiful way of running their business, but they really are so much in fear. They've got a money story, you know, that they feel powerless to be able to sell. I'm just wondering, you know, because I'm sure there's going to be people on this call that are going to want to start following you that haven't heard of you previously, and I would love, you know, you to just share just not all your secrets, but just a little indication of how you may be able to help somebody uncover that.
Yeah. I think the first thing is that if you have a money story, if you're looking at high-end coaching, there's a lot of figures that are bounded around 50K, 100K. You know, my highest price point is 22K. And I've done a lot of work to get to that level. And I started off selling days intensives, which were £500. And it was a gorgeous way of shifting because previously I'd been selling my hourly services at £40. And it was the first way I had of building momentum. And so the first thing on a practical level is not to get caught up in the figures. You know, just because you see people out there charging a lot of money, it doesn't mean that your jump is from £40 an hour to 50K for a year. It might just be that you start to package your services and start charging 300, 500, 1,000, whatever feels good for you. For me, pricing is something that happens internally, not externally. Mm-hmm. Most of us think about how we want to price something, and we go, okay, so I live in Hampshire and I'm a nutritionist, and so let's look at all the other nutritionists in Hampshire. I don't want to be the most expensive, I don't want to be the cheapest. And the shift is, it's like stop looking outside at what other people are doing and look inside at what you're doing. What figures feel good for you? Like, look in the mirror, like, say figures, see where you twitch, see where you look sharp, see where you look comfortable. Allow the prices to naturally form. And then stop looking at your business in a transactional way. Stop looking at I sell nutrition or I sell coaching, and start to think about the transformational value that you offer your clients, and, you know, really tune into that. If you help someone with their nutrition, for instance, perhaps they lose weight, perhaps they start to have a better marriage, perhaps they start to have, you know, smoking hot sex every night, perhaps, you know, they start to become a better role model for their daughter, or they start to leave a legacy. And when you really start to tune in to the true transformational and the ripple effects that your clients experience, and when you connect to that monthly, weekly, daily, and you really own and take that on, the shifts will happen in terms of you owning your own space. You know, when you can really start to get some mind shifts around that, it really becomes a lot easier to start charging and really believing in that price point yourself. And I would also say perhaps some people are listening to this and they've done some sales training, or they've been from the sales world, and they go, you know, I get it, this is about benefit sales. And I would challenge that and say, even now, with all of this time I've been in my business, selling so frequently, I still do the work to connect to that value all of the time, so that when somebody's on a sales call with me, I'm never making it about myself or my price or how I feel. I'm only holding a container for them to explore how they get towards their goals and dreams. And there's nothing running about how I feel in that container. It's only a safe space for them to move towards their goals. And so this is a practice that I do all of the time.
Wow. And Carly, you know, what I'm thinking is I can literally visualize people right now thinking, I want to learn more about this, because, you know, a lot of us come to business with the desire to make a difference. We know that we have a purpose. We know that we have this calling, and we're on this journey of trying to align ourselves with what that purpose is. But when it actually comes to the sales part, a lot of us just kind of go to pot, and it's just like, oh, I don't know how to do it. I don't know best how to serve to be able to get this out into the world. So I know there's going to be people who are hearing what you're saying now, who are thinking, my goodness me, Carly's the person that can help me. Now, Carly, I know that you have a free three-part Selling with Soul video training. Can we please just share that with people if they would like to sign up?
Yeah, so people can go to carlyhope.com and sign up on the front page, which sends you videos teaching you more around the actual sales process. And if people want, have a specific question, or they want to hang out with me, you can find me on Facebook really easily on facebook.com/The Sales Angel, which is my personal page. And I've got some space for some new friend requests, and, you know, love to people to hit me up on the chat on there, and I'm happy to connect with people.
Oh, thank you, Carly, because, you know, you very much are incredibly about the people, very, very much so. And, you know, I know people matter to you, and this is the way that you are you are able to get your gift out into the world by teaching this stuff that is just so, so important. And I absolutely know without a doubt, you know, that if we can't sell, we're not able to make that difference that we're here to make, you know, that calling that we have. But, you know, it's not all about the selling, is it? The other part, the other aspect that we've touched on as well is very much about the inner work, that goes on inside. And, you know, one of the things that I just love you to sort of, not so much share, but I'm kind of asking for a little bit of an agreement on this. Our journey is never over. This is constant work, isn't it? We need to, you know, it's not sort of like you learn the sales and then you're done. We do the inner work and then we're done. I mean, I know I have done years and years of work on myself, and then this year, you know, I've just had some major stuff come up for me, and I've had to really give myself the space, the time to dig far deeper than I've ever gone before. You know, some of it has been similar sort of patterns that have come up that you're kind of like, oh, I've dealt with this. Why is it showing up again? But, you know, I needed to go deeper. So, yeah, it was kind of like a little bit of agreement that I was looking for, that you kind of share that same sentiment.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a journey, not a destination.
Thank you.
Always. And I mean, I just had the same thing happen. You know, everybody talks about Mercury retrograde, and I've always been like, yeah, whatever, because nothing defines me. I'm always in control. And I know that people talk about it, you know, crashing your laptops and, you know, your launch can't happen. And then there's also this part of it where, you know, anything emotional that you haven't dealt with, like, comes up. And I found myself in June in quite a dark space, really actually physically reliving something that I hadn't dealt with. Like actually being in England, you know, in the same place, like it was so surreal, reliving something. And I think, you know, the universe will do that. It will just, you know, if there's things that you're not dealing with, it will come and slap you around the face like a wet fish and say, hello, let's deal with this. And when we're on a business journey, everything's heightened because we're out there being a trailblazer, we're out there being a leader. And I'm really passionate about people feeling, and a lot of us are very sensitive, people really sensing the safety of the community, people really sensing how okay it is to be vulnerable when they need to reach out, to form circles of friends. And these are friends that they may have known their whole life, or it might be people like you and I, Alison, who actually we don't speak every day and we haven't known each other for years, but we're real soul sisters, and I know if I needed you I could come to you and vice versa. And I'm really passionate about people having that, because I want more women to come forward as leaders, because people have brilliant expertise within them, but they're not having to wear that badge to the point where it's not safe to come and ask for support when we need it, because we're leaders, we're trailblazers, and we're sensitive. And within that, the spiritual path isn't always easy. It's so rewarding and it's so gorgeous, but geez, it's an emotional one.
And thank you for sharing that. I really, really appreciate it, because, you know, I think, you know, when you come on this journey, and particularly when you're more so in the early days, and you kind of look at people like Carly Hope, and you're like, well, she's got it all sussed. You know, she's doing amazingly well, and yes, you are, but it's just this thing that I really want people to appreciate, that, you know, it's an onward journey.
Yeah,
we'll always be on it. Yeah.
Well, and more growth and more lessons and more learning, and you know, some areas have a lot of success and ease in my business. You know, like I had a month this year, and I did 6 figures in that month. And everybody kept saying, who are you working with at the moment? Who's your mentor? And I'm like, I've got parenting coaches coming out of my ears right now. But, you know, being a mum is pretty new to me, and, like, I've got a lot of ease in the business, and then, you know, my son William, he's such a gorgeous, sensitive little lad, and, you know, I'm learning all the time about how I can influence, you know, him in a really positive, gorgeous way, and there's just lessons everywhere. You know, like I said earlier, I've been doing some work around my food, and, yeah, it's never done. You know, I heard somebody once say, it's like the yoga teacher, like doing yoga once and then going, hey, I've done yoga, I'm done. It's like, these are daily practices. This is a daily evolution. And everyone who's signed up for this path is in for the most gorgeous ride. But there's things that, you know, we've come here for lessons and we don't know what them lessons look like, and that's why it becomes even more important that we don't place our happiness on our clients saying yes, or our kids being well behaved, or our marriages being perfect. We place our happiness on knowing how to manage our emotions and always living inside out rather than vice versa.
Wow. That's very profound, and thank you again for sharing. Oh, Carly, it's been absolutely wonderful chatting with you. I've really, really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, we are out of time. It's just whizzed past, and I know there's just so many more questions that I could have asked you, and we could have gone a lot deeper, but I think, you know, for now we're done. It's just been absolutely amazing. Can we just share once more contact details? I know that we will put, once the recording goes out, we will make sure that these links go out as well. So it's the website, if people would like to sign up for your 3-part Selling with Soul video training, is www.carlyhope.com. And could you just please just remind everybody of your Facebook page?
Yes, it's facebook.com/The Sales Angel. If there's any crazy chance that someone's not on Facebook, it happens, then my email is carly@carlyhope.com.
Oh, lovely. Carly, thank you. It's been an absolute delight connecting with you. Thank you so much for your time, and it's now time to go back to your lovely, beautiful children.
Thank you so much, Alison. Thank you.
Oh, bye for now.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.